Taylor Swift pulled off the ultimate pop culture magic trick. She became a billionaire by convincing the world that she was still the girl next door. Today, I'm breaking down the marketing strategy that keeps Taylor relatable, even though she's one of the most powerful women in entertainment. We'll look at her major career pivots, and if you understand this strategy, you'll spot every future Taylor rebrand before it happens. And here's the part that gets buried. Taylor's image as a small-town underdog was funded. Her father invested 3% into her label at the beginning of her career. That investment wasn't random. It proved Taylor didn't stumble into stardom. She was built. From the get-go, her father and her team, and of course she herself, treated her career as a long-term investment. They weren't just launching an artist. They were meticulously crafting a brand, the perfect ordinary girl with extraordinary dreams storyline. And once you see how her team uses that same story over and over again, reinvention after reinvention, you might notice her style changes, but the story at her core never does. In Hollywood, where so many teenage girls are clamoring to hypersexualize themselves, Taylor stood out because she was letting herself be 15. And in doing so, she came to represent a nostalgia for young love. And choices like that weren't accidental. They reveal something that shaped her entire career. Taylor's connection to fans comes back to 3 emotions: wholesomeness, romance, and nostalgia. Remember those 3 because she returns to them every time she reinvents herself, no matter how big she gets. Taylor was a mother-approved role model. She didn't swear, she talked about love, not sex, and she didn't show her belly button. It is a strong guideline in Hollywood to keep tight-lipped about your relationships, especially with other people in Hollywood. And most celebs seem to live by this, but not young Taylor. She would talk about her dating life with anyone who would listen.
When I look at that person, I'm not even going to be able to remember the boy who broke up with me over the phone in 25 seconds when I was 18.
I also want to thank the person who inspired this song, who knows exactly who he is, because now I got one of these.
Taylor felt like a close friend because she was one of the rare celebrities willing to spill hot tea. Taylor is going to explain how she got her start leaving Easter eggs.
I wanted to do something that incentivized fans to read the lyrics because my lyrics are what I'm most proud of.
You know, I just thought, why not capitalize random letters and see if the fans figure out that if you take all the random letters and you put them together, it spells out like little code.
Okay, and this is the wildest of her Easter eggs anyone has figured out.
Out a really fun one the other day, which is that if you line up all of the titles of the songs on the album in the center, it makes the shape of the Eras Tour stage.
I love it.
I was so pleased when they found that out.
Taylor says there's still hundreds and thousands of Easter eggs out there for anyone down for the hunt. And she knows her fans pick up on the minute details, and she has invited them down the rabbit hole.
If you want to go down a rabbit hole with us, come along.
Taylor is
the
your
water's
person.
great.
Yeah.
So she wanted people to closely analyze her lyrics, and a lot of her songs were about her romantic experiences, which tended to be with high-profile men. So for these amateur sleuths, finding out who these songs were about was an obvious step, and it was child's play. Taylor says she doesn't name names and she doesn't disclose who her songs are about, but John Mayer felt personally called out by her song Dear John, which, if she doesn't name names, is the only song we can presume is not about John Mayer. And don't forget, when you like, it helps me reach more people and back to Taylor. So as a country star, ultimate relatability had been imperative. No matter how famous they get, no matter how many millions and millions they make, the pickup never rolls too far from the honky-tonk. But Taylor was ready to roll a different direction. When Taylor came out with her Red album, she was basically soft-launching her pop career, and she indicated on more than one occasion that she was taking this huge leap of faith, just this giant chance, switching from country to pop. But she was working with Max Martin, the king of pop. This is the guy that brought you Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC. Max Martin is a musical magician that can conjure something from nothing. And Taylor Swift was not nothing. She was already a superstar, so this just made her a super duper duper star. She's had a lot of hits, but her first #1 hit was with Max Martin. We Are Never Getting Back Together. But in order to make this pop transition really take, she knew she needed to rebrand. So when she's country, she's super relatable. But pop isn't known for being relatable. So with her 1989 album, she is inaccessible and unobtainable. She tweaks or switches basically everything she was known for, starting with straightening her curly locks. Where she used to be the girl next door, now she's the supermodel you're never gonna meet in real life. She shows up to the Victoria's Secret fashion show looking toned, tanned, and augmented. And with her 5'11" height, she fits right in with the supermodels. Country Taylor was known for her boyfriend drama. Pop Taylor likes to keep her private life mostly private. Her big beef is with another woman, Katy Perry, who it's insinuated tried to hire her dancers right out from under her nose just before tour. She doesn't want to be known for who she's dating anymore. Instead, she starts associating herself with her high-profile girlfriends. She'll put out pictures of her on the 4th of July with a bunch of other famous or up-and-coming women, usually models or other singers or actors. These are very editorial, very flattering photos that make it look like they are the coolest clique that you wish that you were part of because they look like they're having so much fun. And it is the #squad and #friendship goals. Her videos were always gorgeous, but now they're cinematic. With blank space and bad blood, it feels like you're watching an iconic film in 3 minutes. So basically everything about her is becoming larger than life. Seems like at this point, Taylor had a bit of the Disney girl dilemma, where she wants the world to know that she's a woman now and to start thinking of her that way, but it seems like her team doesn't want to scare people away by doing too much too fast, so they kind of slow roll her sensuality. She starts to be slightly edgier, and she's been an adult long enough that nobody's too shocked or up in arms. She shows her belly button in public for the first time. It's not a big deal. That being said, even though Taylor is now inaccessible and unobtainable, she's still the same old Taylor, guys. You know what she does with her supermodel friends when they come over? They bake sugar cookies. I don't know who eats them, but I do know that is wholesome and relatable. And she still loves cats, which I didn't know she ever liked cats, but she still does. And now it's a part of her campaign. So she has her music videos that feel edgier and like they're different from what she was doing before. And then she comes out with the music video Wildest Dreams, which is very nostalgic and romantic.
Swifties are getting out the vote.
The world seemed to want Taylor to become more political, or at least a loud pocket of the internet. But what could she make her platform? Not saving the earth, not with that private jet, not eating the rich, not with that net worth. But one thing she would always be was a woman, and no one could ever take that away. She made herself a voice of feminism, speaking out for all the women who shouldn't have had to work so hard for their FU money. In bonus, boyfriend drama Taylor was in the past. That was previous persona, and now she could finally put it to rest by shaming people who didn't respect that she had rebranded.
So what, you and Hunter? I'm guessing that's over.
What do you care? You go through men faster than Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift did not enjoy this little snide aside from the TV show Ginny and Georgia. She responded, "Hey Ginny and Georgia, 2010 called and it wants its lazy, deeply sexist joke back. How about we stop degrading hardworking women by defining this horse as funny?" Taylor says it is sexist to be so focused on her dating life. She says they wouldn't do this to Ed Sheeran or Bruno Mars, who talk about romance in their songs, but she gets called a serial dater. So why is it that people were so obsessed with her dating life?
Trained him well.
But why weren't they as interested in who other singers were dating?
Trained him well.
But why were they such bigoted bigots?
Trained him well.
So, up until this point, Taylor seems to have lived in a magical media bubble where only glowingly positive things can be said about her. And then that bubble pops. Kim Kardashian releases a video that she says proves Taylor Swift is a liar. According to Taylor, she got a lot of heat online, and this seemed to really affect her. She decided, oh yeah? You're gonna call me the villain? Well, I'll become the villain. You call me a snake, I will make the snake my mascot. So Edgy Taylor was born. And let me tell ya, Edgy Taylor is a lot like every other person in Hollywood, except maybe a little less developed conceptually. It felt like there were some walls she wasn't ready to knock down, and I don't think she needs to, but if she's gonna be effective at the Edgy brand, yeah, she kinda needs to. So she reveals her new look in concert like, oh hey, it's me, Dark Taylor. And she's just wearing a black sparkly one piece, which I'm sure would be very intimidating in Care Bear Land, which I think is where she resided. I think this Taylor would be very afraid of this Taylor. And with so many people being so much edgier, this just didn't stand out, just didn't fit her. So around this time, it feels like tides are turning. Some of the responses to this album were not initially glowing. Some outlets were coming out questioning whether Taylor was even relatable anymore. And it seemed like some people who she had initially invited to join the squad were starting to distance themselves from her, or at least that's how the media made it look. Quotes are making it sound like there were people that didn't want to join the squad or wanted the world to know that they weren't as close as the pictures made it seem. Even if these women weren't trying to throw shade, their lack of enthusiasm fractured the fantasy of the aspirational friends group. And that wasn't the only negativity coming her way. Taylor before this seemed to have kind of a Dolly Parton point of view about politics, that yes, she had her opinions and ideas, but as an entertainer, she didn't feel the need to put all of her politics out there. But certain outlets were putting such harsh pressure on her, demanding that she become more political and say what they wanted her to say, and comparing her to a Nazi if she didn't. Things were flipping fast and she needed to get a hold of the narrative. She starts making political endorsements.
Taylor Swift's endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris.
And I honestly think when she gives her endorsements, it's completely sincere. She comes out with a very pro-LGBTQ song that some are saying was too little too late, but it was eventually fully embraced. The music video's ready for it and Endgame come out, and like a lot of Taylor Swift songs, they initially top the charts, but they're sinking fast. I feel like I can basically hear her team planning to make an ultra-relatable music video to correct course. You need to be more relatable, Taylor. I don't know why he's British. Bangs. Bangs are wholesome and relatable. Get them back. Ponytail. What's friendlier than a ponytail? No, that's too fancy. Let's make it look like your mother needed to sew a prom dress from old curtains. And just like that, they were correcting course. So with the Reputation album and tour, she'd never veered so far away from her original identity. And afterwards, she'd never made such a hard swing back to remind you of who she is. I am of course talking about the Eras Tour, where she hits you with more jam-packed nostalgia than ever before. And as we know, it was a huge hit. It made her a bigger star than ever. So see that pattern? Try something new, repeat something old. In her newest album, Life of a Showgirl, she's obviously really embracing her sensuality and being more overtly sexual than ever before, pushing closer to, if not firmly into rated R territory in her lyrics, which have gotten criticism, but it feels like when the Reputation album was criticized. And those qualms lasted a minute, but the critics got tired. But remember who never gets tired? Swifties, which is why they will always be the last man standing and they will always win. And if it feels like her persona is getting too glitzy and glam and larger than life, she's still the same old Taylor, And this time it's her authentic live details that are reminding us how romantic she is, because Taylor's getting married. And for anyone who's been fans of hers from the start, when she would regularly allude to marriage and wedding dresses in her songs, finding out she's engaged is very wholesome, very romantic, and very nostalgic.
It's all right. I'm cool. You know what? It's like when I find that person that is right for me, and he'll be wonderful.
Don't forget to subscribe so you're notified about the next video, and comment below any clever branding moves that I didn't mention.